Hi, my name's Lindy and welcome to this channel. My website is www.lindycowling.co.uk. Email is info@lindycowling.co.uk. And the title of this video this evening is October Energy Broadcast. October Energy Broadcast. Now, it's not that often that I put out an energy broadcast in this particular fashion and call it an energy broadcast. Although if you are familiar with my work and familiar with my videos, you'll know that all of them are connected with energy, consciousness, vibration, frequency. They're very much healing videos and experiential videos, really. So videos to encourage your own inner healing, videos to encourage your journey. But more than that, I feel that some of them have a particular vibration and frequency that is beneficial to people's awakening, beneficial to people's aha moments and realizations, and calming for a lot of people. And also stimulates a particular, I feel, frequency or vibration that helps people along the way. At least, that's what I feel anyway. So I was guided to bring this one out again because of the particular sequence of energies that we are all experiencing to lesser or greater degrees at the moment. And because people that I know in my life have been experiencing profound energies, particularly in the last few weeks. Now, for myself personally, because as you know, it's an experiential channel, which means I only share, talk, inspire, or I wouldn't use the word teach as such, but some call me a spiritual teacher, but whatever. It's all from experience and experientially, so it's all done from personal and professional experience. From my own personal experience, the particular set of retrogrades we went through around July and then coming into August was excruciatingly intense energy, and for me personally, that hasn't really let up that much. It's just shifted and changed a bit. So I've seen this definitely around me in my personal life and in people in my personal life too that have been really going through the ringer and having big things coming up for them that need addressing and healing. People are also reporting in these energies quite extreme tiredness. So these are people that aren't usually subject to feeling absolutely exhausted, and these are the words that people are using. They are exhausted and they're laying down on the sofa and can't put one foot in front of the other. I personally feel it's a combination of our own personal inner ascension processes, which is the expansion of our consciousness into our heart portal, and I feel it is that inner encouragement and that inner push from our spirit essence and our infinite consciousness within to really push us through and up into the next levels. But as all that's going on, of course, there is also the link to everything that is happening in the world, and because we are beings that are highly sensitive to consciousness, some of us more than others, especially empathic, intuitive, sensitives. But even, people that aren't empathic or intuitive or sensitive will be feeling it. Perhaps they won't recognize it quite in the same way, but they'll be feeling it. There is the global shift and the global shifts to consciousness and the big changes that we are, almost like sensing that collective kind of energy as well. And I think the exhausting part for people is we are at a pivotal point now where this is being anchored, globally anchored in our vehicles, in our human bodies. So that is the part of it, you know, where I'm going to say the greatest change takes place. To me, really, it's pretty easy beans, really, when it's being done on the spiritual realms and the higher realms. That's kind of a walk in the park. It's when we are being pushed internally very hard to integrate and assimilate that through our human vehicles, and all the energy bodies or the energy field line up, so that we are living this 24/7 on a daily basis. You know, whether we go to the restroom, whether we go to the store, whether we're driving, walking, picking the kids up from school, you know, going to our work, in our personal lives, whatever we're doing 24/7, it's not something that we're tapping into once a week. It's something that we are, so it's not, you know, it's coming online in a different way through your body vehicle, so it's not tapping up outside of you anymore. It's tuning, a fine tuning upwards in your levels of consciousness, but internally. So that all sounds wonderful and great, and on some levels, of course, it is. That's wonderful, but it's also for many people can be very, very tiring and quite challenging, because a multitude of symptoms can come up. Anything that is unconscious comes up to become conscious. So the hidden, you know, is coming up in your face, literally. So when I say hidden, I mean not just what is hidden in the world, that's the collective side of it is coming up. And, you know, there are some shocks there, and there are more shocks there to come globally. But I mean the internal hidden, so that's the suppressed stuff that we so commonly, you know, carry as human beings. We file it away somewhere in the body, we file it away somewhere in the head, we file it away somewhere in the energy field, and think maybe we don't want to look at that again, or maybe it's gone away. And of course it comes up to bite us in the arse at a time like this, because the energy is in a spiral fashion. All energy goes in this fashion. What we do is, if we file it away on one turn of the spiral, later on we know we keep revisiting it until finally there's nothing to revisit. Hence the end of triggering, and the unconscious has become conscious. So there's a lot of that going on. The retrograde thing, planet thing, really pushed that hard. Some of us that process not just for ourselves, but for the families, blood and soul families, and for the collective, the humanity collective, especially if we're doing it through big transformational inner, and I could say outer templates of transformation. Twin flame union only being one of those. That's supposed to be a balance. I say supposed to be loosely a balanced masculine and feminine format of an inner unified state of consciousness. Many of us that are processing through that, and that was our way of coming online to ourselves and that consciousness journey, particularly have been feeling it because we've been processing for the collective as well, which is insufferable sometimes, to be honest, really challenging, because when you're processing for the collective, you're getting hit a double whammy, twice as hard, because instead of it just being your stuff, you're clearing vast realms of stuff as well for other people. Now, it is true to say that really the purpose of templating consciousness is that when you're processing for the collective, in an ideal world, those energies would be passing through you. But it isn't an ideal world at the moment, and most of us on the planet are human in some form or another. And so when we are processing things, if we have any of our own buried, suppressed stuff in there, any of our own retrograde stuff that we thought wasn't there, and we're processing that same theme for the collective, it can stick. It can meet up with what we've got held within us. And then instead of passing through like a sieve or like a fine net, passing through like a filtration process. It sticks, and there's a which is very challenging again. So that is definitely something I've had to be dealing with, and I've found absolutely untenable at points, actually. Why at this particular time? I don't think it's because there is major pivotal stuff in me to be processed, although of course there is still some stuff in me to be processed, no two ways about it. But there is a fever pitch of frequency across humanity per se at the moment. This first started building for me, you know, from my perspective, my perception. I think I brought a video out in 2016, October 2016, saying it was the year of compression or something like that. It's been shifting and changing ever since, but this one, there is a fever pitch of frequency, and because I'm clairaudience as well as being a sensitive empath and psychic and medium, I can hear these or sense these sounds. That translates as a feeling, really, but heard beyond the level of hearing, clairaudiently. And there is a fever pitch of sound at the moment, so there are people clamouring. A bit like if the Titanic, or when the Titanic went down, people clamouring like crazy, panicking in the water to try and get to a boat or hold on to something that was floating in the water, or even hold on to someone else that's floating in the water. There's a desperation and a clamouring in people at the moment that are building up internally like pressure cookers to a fever pitch. And what is really going on for people, even though they all have their unique expressions of their lives and their unique life experiences, their unique consciousness, their personalities, you know, all of these things that are going on, so they will process it in different ways according to where they're at with all of that and at with their perception. Generally, there is a fever pitch thing going on there where they've got an inner sense that something, they're on the cusp of something, and it's generally not entirely comfortable. I rarely speak to people who say they're finding that really comfortable and it's easy for them, because there is a knee-jerk survival mechanism in humans that are extremely resistant to shifts and change, even inner shifts and change of consciousness. And there's like almost like I'm going to call it a fail-safe thing that kicks in, and they just cling to the consciousness they know, cling to the reality they know, 99% of humans, before finally they inwardly push through, you know, I'm almost like describing it like labour pains and birth, but inwardly and then externally push through and push out into that elevated form of who they truly are, that different perception, that different consciousness that is them, but their higher form, if you like. I could say their true form, or their more conscious form, their more heart form. It's all the same thing. Their more unified form, their more 0 point form. I'm kind of talking about the same thing. So from the human perspective, the intensity has been pretty relentless for a number of years, but it's changed again now, and I'm really hearing the collective as a kind of fever pitch. Now, certainly in my professional practice, when people contact me, there is a franticness to it that I've not encountered before. And sometimes that can be a bit much for me to deal with, because it's a bit like I am a piece of the Titanic bobbing about in the water, and all the people in the water are grabbing at me to stop them sinking. And so I've had to be extremely careful to install yet more boundaries, which has been the biggest challenge of my life, being a sensitive empath, psychic, kind of caring person that works helping people. It's a constantly daily challenge for me to keep installing boundaries where I can, in a way, let's say, help people, but also make sure that's not detrimental to myself, so that I'm not pulled down into the water along with people that I'm trying to help out of it. If you do use the Titanic as an analogy, if there is a ship that is sinking or sunk, and then I'm a piece of the wreckage bobbing up and down, and you've got several hundred people trying to climb onto that, or cling to that, or hold on to that, or to be helped by that, fixed by that, inspired by that, on a daily basis, that frantic, panicky energy, you can probably imagine by what I'm saying that it's a bit much, and I am finding it a bit much. So what I'm having to do is put specific boundaries in place to ensure that my well-being comes, right up at the top of that priority there. I can't do this kind of work or help anybody else if I am being dragged down to sink by other people's demands, panic, sometimes aggression. Usually I'm very lucky, and most people are absolutely wonderful, very positive, but there are a large proportion of people I deal with that are unbalanced, and I'm trying to help them come to balance. That's why some of them are drawn to my channel, and they are frantic and clinging to me like a piece of driftwood. So I've had to put some very extra strong boundaries in place to ensure that my needs are met, and that I am not affected detrimentally by that. So I've had to create that, and I foresee I'm going to have to create that even more, because that fever pitch in people is increasing. So the fever pitch in me isn't increasing. The fever pitch in the general population is increasing. It's increasing not because it shouldn't be increasing. It's increasing because it's the last inner throes before there is a push through for people to become self-aware and awake. Now, do I see that happening en masse? Absolutely not. And I am not in agreement, and I've said this before, of the very popular light worker industry speak about one event and it happening in one event. I don't resonate with that. Many of us that have been around for years working these energies don't resonate with that, because we went through a sequence of shifts years ago and it still kept coming, but little stepping stones. I don't see one thing en masse doing it. I think that's just almost like a popular, fashionable thing almost to hook into, or a false light program. I don't see it being one thing, so I don't resonate with that. That's going to piss a lot of people off that do feel that way. Everyone's their own. I'm going to be completely honest, I don't resonate with that. I don't also resonate, and I brought a video out on it, with people keep calling it New Earth. Now, there's a story that goes with this, which I'm going to just quickly bring in. As soon as I heard people talking about New Earth, straight away that didn't resonate with me, and it actually made me feel slightly uneasy, and I couldn't quite understand why, but I trusted my gut feeling on it. And part of my role and part of my super sensitivity is to identify consciousness programs, templates, all of these kind of things in the ethers. That's generally, collectively and individually. And I didn't resonate and still don't resonate with that term, and I actually got a video out saying what my take on that was, New Earth and the event, and not resonating with it. So I'm not going along with the crowd on that at all. And interestingly enough, just amazing synchronicity, a DVD literally dropped in my lap that I came across, right time, right place, called The Men That Stare at Goats. And to cut a long story short, it's a true story of a I think it was a CIA program in the end. I think the CIA took it over. I might be wrong on that. I'm going on the DVD. It was a Ewan McGregor, George Clooney DVD. And they called these guys that worked through the military using psychic powers and remote viewing New Earth Army, which sounds wonderful, and I think it started in a wonderful form that they were hoping to disarm people without using actual weapons. They were practicing on goats. That's why the film's called The Men That Stare at Goats. But unfortunately, when they practiced on goats, they were trying to make the goats fall over and stop their heart, and actually it worked. But the idea was to create a more peaceful world, I think, but to actually have almost like disarming weapons without actually touching each other. I think that was the idea. But then a more dodgy, isn't it always the way, perspective got hold of it. And I think it was called something like the Earth Army or the New Earth Army or the Super Warrior New Earth Army or something like that. Which sounds wonderful, but then halfway through the film it went really sinister. The Kevin Spacey character comes in and it goes very MK Ultra-ish and etc. and loops onto that. Now, that's made me smile all over my face, because talk about synchronicity, I had no idea the film was anything to do with that. And I recognised immediately why I do not resonate with that term, New Earth, because I'd already picked up that wasn't what it seemed to be, and I knew that had been used as a program and as consciousness and as a deviation on consciousness before. So I'm able to identify things like that, so I knew there was something not right with it. And I still don't resonate with that term, even if somebody is meaning it from, they just mean a new reality, a new experience of life on Earth, Earth being much better than it is, and, you know, coming from that kind of flowery, beautiful place. I totally get it, but I still don't resonate with the terminology, because that has been misused, a misuse of energy in the past by what I've just talked about. So I'm deviating off a bit. Don't want this video to get too long. So there's a lot going on for people at the moment. There has been as a build-up for a number of years, but even those that haven't even started to awaken yet, and those that are some of the way down the line, and, you know, some that are at the beginning, some that are much further along, are all feeling to a certain degree those kind of inner and outer changes. And what I would say to you is just take every day as it comes. Pay particular attention to your thoughts and feelings. Pay particular attention to how you are feeling in your body. And you need to really listen to yourselves at this time as to what you need, really. And if you do need to take your foot off the accelerator, metaphorically speaking, a bit, or if you need to step back for a bit, if you need to put more boundaries in, if you need a change in your lifestyle, if you just need to do things differently temporarily or permanently, you really do need to listen to that inner gut feeling and that discernment and your intuition, and you really do need to listen to your heart, which of course are the beginning rungs of your higher levels of consciousness. And nobody ascends within the human body without going through those heart rungs of consciousness. Nobody does it. And to recognise that when you're going about your daily lives and your daily business, you're probably thinking, you know, it just seems in a way like a normal day. Why do I feel so much more's going on than that, internally and externally? And because there's a shed load going on internally and externally. It's like, for many people, it's like they're a house and their whole electrical circuitry is being rewired. Their whole perception of the world and who they are is coming online in a different way. These are vast shifts, you know. They might be clearing through them as a filtration unit generations of old patterning and old belief systems and old ways of doing things, you know, old programs, all of this stuff. It's happening on so many different levels, and that is massive, and it's huge, and it's a lot for people to even contend with, let's say, on an individual basis, let alone if that's amplified by being in a powerful soul connection with someone, or a twin flame union, or tied up with an Ascension template. Let alone if that's amplified by being part of one of those templates, let alone if you are, you know, clearing for the collective, or you're gatekeeping for the collective, or whatever role you assigned yourself, you signed up for. So I would say, you know, cut yourself some slack. Don't be pushing yourself like crazy at this time. Listen to what your body is saying. Listen to what your heart is saying. Try to spend some time in tune with yourself to recognize, you know, if I just need to do something a bit different, maybe permanently, then I need to do it, you know, recognizing if you just need some time out to rest now, you need some time out to rest now. You know, none of this takes place, these massive shifts that we're going through, without all parts of your energy field being involved, all parts of your consciousness being involved. It's not one bit but not the other bits. It's coming online as the complete embodiment. So, you know, as the word implies, in the body meant. So, you know, it takes the time it takes, but there is a real pressure on at the moment, an intensity, a kind of frantic energy globally at the moment. Because I feel people sense, you know, it's that 11th hour thing, you know, when people want to push through, and they really can feel it building up. It's been building up for such a long time. And people deal with that different ways, you know. Some, it's like a pressure cooker, you know, some go off emotionally like a box of firecrackers. Others try and internalize it all and suppress it. And of course there's nowhere to hide because it's an internal process. One way or another it's coming out, so kind of respect one another, but respect how it's coming out for you. Cut yourself some slack. Realise, you know, we're in some extraordinary times here. Everything that you're doing for yourselves by signing up internally to go through your process, you're handing down to the children and the grandchildren that follow you. You're handing down to your blood families and your soul family, and you're handing that on to humanity as a whole. It's a bit like a relay race. You know, you're running your bit, it goes to the next wave. You're running your bit, it goes to the next wave. Everybody that signs up to do that is making it so much easier for those that have been, those that are here, and those that will follow. On that note, I will love you and leave you. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for supporting me as the channel and donating to this channel, but supporting me in all the ways that you do. I will hopefully see you again soon. And if I don't see you in a few weeks, enjoy the beginning of autumn or the beginning of fall, and enjoy autumn, and until we meet again. Bye.